Good afternoon. This is Lori Howard. Welcome to the EL Civics Network. It's July 29th, 2020. And thank you for joining. I think all of you are muted, but please feel free to type in the chat if you have a question, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. As always, this is more of a QA session, although I will present a little bit to you, and then we can move on to any questions and answers. If you would type your name and agency in the chat, I would appreciate it. And if you haven't registered yet, I would appreciate it if you would go into CASAS.org and register as soon as possible. That would be very helpful. Thank you so much. Let me just look at the chat real quick, see if there are any questions yet. Great, thank you so much for putting your name and agency in the chat. That way I can keep track of your attendance, which is helpful. So I hope you're doing well in the summer. I hope you're safe and your families are safe and well. That's the most important thing. And I just wanted to talk a little bit, or start a little bit with just what's going on. Are you doing remote teaching and or learning now in the summer, or are you planning on doing it in the fall? And if so, tell us a little bit about what you're doing. If you go ahead and chat to everyone and how it's going, or what you think will happen. So just take a couple of minutes to type in the chat if you would and answer this question. And I hope that you are seeing my screen. If you're not seeing my screen, please let me know. Okay, Carla says 100% remote for fall. No plan yet for spring. Oxnard is in the last week of summer school with distance learning. Okay, some of you are doing summer school. That's great. Okay, 100% distance learning. New student registration might be online, might be in person. So only distance learning for the first 6 weeks of fall, and then possibly blended learning. Okay, so there's a variety of things that are happening. And so my next question would be, how are you preparing for that? Do your teachers feel prepared because of what happened in the spring? Or are you doing more professional development with them? How are you preparing your teachers to, or yourself, to teach 100% online? Okay, so we're thinking about recruitment. I see Tamika is talking about recruitment, and then you're going to be going distance learning at LA Community College District. You're training your class, your teachers with Canvas. Okay, so professional development is on the top of mind. That's great. Very good. And I know, both OTAN and CalPro have a lot of workshops that I'm sure are archived in their systems. And so it would be great to be looking at what they have for your teachers and perhaps doing independent learning for your teachers. If your teachers are CASAS members, they did a lot of distance learning workshops in the spring, I think in March, and I know they're archived for CASAS members. Okay, and Sigrid says she's setting up her Google Classroom now and will share the template with colleagues at my school. That's great. Good, I think we're going to have to do a lot of sharing. I can't remember if I sent it to you already, but I will send you a school in another state is doing parking lot testing. And CASAS has, I can actually show you where that is. CASAS has put a little clip online about the parking lot assessment, which I think would be interesting for you to see. And let me just see if I can find it. Hopefully you're watching me as I navigate to CASAS.org. Oops. Why is my navigation not going on? I guess my computer just seems slow today. CASAS.org. Okay, here's the home page. And again, so much of all of our remote testing is here on the right-hand side. And we have everything you need to know about remote testing, including SIT remote testing and co-op remote testing here. And then I'm assuming the video, let's see if it's here. This workshop we just had, here it is, July 22nd. You can watch the whole thing. And again, I hope you're seeing my screen. I'm pointing to the whole webinar that we had, but they pulled out the Novi Adult Education Testing in Cars section of it. So if you're interested at all in doing remote testing in cars, it would be interesting to see this. And then I think I have something in print that I can send you as well. So I'll send you that print link to testing in cars if you're interested. Okay. So good. Thank you so much for sharing. I will also send you the chat so that you can have everybody's chat about what they're doing in case that might be helpful to you. So let me go back to my slides. And I just want to go over a few things before we open it up to question and answer. I think I'll just go here. So just want to remind you that all the documents on the CASAS website, the EL Civics page, have been updated for this year. I also want to tell you, and I wrote to you last Friday, but just in case some of you didn't get my email, co-op selection has not begun. It usually begins on July 1. And I guess because of the new RFA, we have not yet received a list of those agencies who are funded for EL Civics, either 231 or 243. So the whole selection system is based on who is funded. And so that's why the system hasn't opened yet. If you're doing summer school and you're teaching co-ops, again, as always, you know, the co-ops are listed and you can download them so you know what's there. So you can be using those. And then as soon as the system opens, just go back and select whatever you taught and assessed for this summer. So don't worry about it. It's just, it's the first year in 15 years that's ever happened that we didn't have the list, but that's the situation. Remember that when you first go on to the CASAS website to select your co-ops, you'll see a special screen that comes up and shows you what you had selected in 1920 and then asks you if you want to keep those things or remove any of them, which you can do. And then you have an opportunity to add any new things. Just remember, if your agency has an option to co-op that you wrote and in the past to revise a co-op or even a new one, you must select it every year whether or not you plan to use it, and that keeps it live in the system. So make sure you keep those co-ops, and you know those co-ops because they don't have a point something after it. They're just a plain number, 30 or 42. So just be sure to keep those in your system. If keeping them means you will have more than 10 co-ops, I'm sorry, civic objectives selected, then you have to ask permission to your CDE consultant for the more than 10. If you've asked permission in the past and you stay within the number that you asked for, you don't have to ask for permission again. And if you go down from that number you asked permission for, you don't have to tell anybody that. But if you need to go up, so if you asked for 15 and you want 16 now, you do have to ask your CDE consultant for permission. It has never not been granted, so just write a brief rationale. And if you would CC me at lbhoward@casas.org, that would be very helpful. And did I write the wrong date here? You said 1920. Oh, what I meant was 2019, 2020. That's the school year. Did I write something inappropriate here, or did I just say it that made you think 23 skidoo? Okay. Okay, just teasing. Kristen says, thank you. So any questions about this co-op selection or the documents that are updated on the website? Okay, and I just have a list of what's important to read. Really important to read this year is and I said this last time, I hope you don't mind me repeating, is the revision to co-op list. And the reason it's so important is because I worked with Margaret Teskey and Portia LaFerla to revise the civic objectives, the language and literacy objectives, and the co-ops and tasks for co-ops 1 through 30. So you'll see a lot of changes, and all the changes are documented in this revision document. In the revision document, you'll see, maybe I should go back there. In that revision document, you'll see by, oh gosh, I'm having trouble there we go, getting things off the screen. There we go. Let's go back to a new share. Where was I? We'll go back here from CASAS, the CASAS website. Scrolling down on the left-hand side to the EL Civics page. Here, California EL Civics, and hopefully you're seeing this. And then we're going to go to civic participation. And the revision list is right here, revisions to co-ops. And if you just download it, you'll see that anything in bold is revised. If it's in bold, then you need to make changes to the co-ops you're using. If it's not in bold, it's just information. So you'll see that all of these things just describe what was done, but you don't have to make any changes, just notice that. But then as we scroll down to 8.4, we realized, I think this is the one that, yeah, a new task was added. We realized no one told us after all these years that there was only one task for beginning low, and all levels should have 2 tasks. So we had to add that. I think it only affected one agency, and I did talk to that agency, and they were aware of this change. But just so you know, so this list is important for you to see any kind of changes that have been made. So, so please be sure to look at that, especially this year. Back to, and I hope again you're seeing my slide. I'm just going to keep it in this version if you don't mind. Make it a little bit bigger for you. Just reminding you that there were new co-ops this year. We revised completely 48, and we're trying to make it more up to date, etc. Banking 1.8 is again an attempt to make it more up to date. We think it still needs more. So if you're doing Civic Objective 1, we'd love to have your assistance to make it more relevant to your students. So please let us know. 75.1 is an accounting co-op. And I also got word that 3 different agencies are working on new co-ops related to COVID. So I think Nutrition 46.9 will be on the website soon. And the agency wanted to especially help their students have access to low-cost food resources. So they revised the nutrition for that purpose. 2 different agencies are doing health. One to talk about preventing communicable diseases based on COVID. Again, we want to generalize it so this can be used up into the future and in any other situation. But COVID-19 is the impetus for this change. And then another agency wanted to work on accessing low-cost medical care. So those 2, 27 and 28, are in the works. They'll if they are acceptable to our system, I will post them as new 27 and new 28. I'll let you know if that happens. Okay, and I put that right here. Okay. Also to say there's a lot of changes in the language and literacy objectives, again, to make them more relevant. So you should just take a look. It shouldn't change exactly anything that you already have printed up or how you're working with your students, but you might want to see, we tried to make it more relevant. The main thing we did was to relate it to the immigrant integration framework, which is part of the impetus of CAPE. So it would be great for you to look at the changes to see what we've done. And let me, while I'm here, why not just show you a little bit of that. Let's see if I can get back there. Or maybe I'm in this one. Where is it? Okay, that must be right here. Yeah, so let's go back to the CASAS home. Let's go back to California Civic Participation. So that list is up here in the first bullet. The pre-approved, no, I'm sorry, that's not it. It's down here in the PDFs. There we go. Second one, pre-approved civic objective list. So here we have the list, and these are all, remember that the language and literacy objectives, and I hope you're seeing this, let me know if you're not, pre-approved civic objective list. The language and literacy objectives are the ones you see on the co-op are related specifically to the assessment, but there are all these other ones that you could use to flesh out the 30 hours of instruction that are required. Let's go to, sorry for scrolling, I know that can be annoying, but let me go a little bit into the 27 and 28. Sorry, look away. Oh, okay, let me go to 21. So again, we made some changes. So the changes in bold you'll see are just language changes. Anything in italics in this document is new. So you'll see that for 21, the importance of good parenting skills, we added identify or demonstrate the use of school websites, student information systems, online learning resources. I thought we changed this in order to assist children. I wonder if this document didn't get changed. Well, I'll look at it and make sure. I wonder if this is not the new version. I think we took out the assist children part because we know that, well, let me just read this. I guess because it's related to parenting, I think there's another situation where these same language and literacy objectives are utilized and they don't have to assist children because we want them to relate this to their own study in terms of using school websites, student information system, online learning resources, and those relate certainly to all of our distance learning that we're doing now, right? And remote teaching. So we added a number of things that would relate to our new situation in terms of distance learning, as well as to relate to the immigrant integration framework. And I have a question from Marin. Is this 243 or 231, and which one are you at? Well, so whether it's 243 or 231 has to do with its where it is on the list. So if you go down here, EL Civics 231 and 243 funded civic objectives, that list tells you. So if there is an asterisk, that means it is 243 funded. So what's funded for 243 are the civic objectives. So any new co-op in that civic objective is funded for 243 if there's an asterisk there on the civic objective. And 21, let's go down to 21. So 21 isn't currently 243. So 243, remember, has to relate to workforce. So because this is parenting, it wouldn't necessarily relate to workforce. If you think it does, then write me a brief rationale and then I'll pose that to CDE. It is the CDE's decision as to whether something is 243 or not. But thanks for that question. And I do want to mention, just while we're here, just to clarify two things I originally, and it's, I guess it's not, I wonder if it's, yeah, I guess I put it, did I put it back? I originally had taken 54 off of the revision list and the live list of things you could select, but then I was informed, because I thought the census ended in July, but I was informed that the new deadline for filling out the census is in October. I assume it's October 31st. So we've reinstated 54. And so this is the only one that is sort of in a funny way related to 243. And it's only 243 for census enumerator training, not regular census. Okay, and Cynthia Ontivero says, what flexibility do we have as far as testing co-ops remotely? So let's go to the co-op remote testing and show you what's there. So on the EL Civics website here, it says California remote testing. So that's going to relate to the co-ops and the sit test. So if you go to there, and you'll see all of the information about remote testing. Okay, and you need to fill out a remote testing agreement, and the proctors need to fill out a remote testing agreement. And we have made training webinars, and we have all the PowerPoints and information. So here for co-ops, you see the slides for the remote testing webinar. I'll show you where the webinar itself is later. We have remote testing guidelines. We have a quick checklist for EL Civics co-op testing and EL Civics remote testing FAQs. We have the same 4 documents for sit testing. And then down here are the videos. So there's a video for each of the 2 trainings, the co-op training and the sit training. The slides for those trainings you will see on the video, as well as you can pull down the PDF. So everything you need should be there. What in general for co-op testing, you can change the mode, but not the content of the test. So usually a test will say, you know, orally or in writing. You can change it to oral, or you can change it to writing, depending on what you need, but you can't change the content or the rubric. So I would read over these documents first, and then if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me or to contact Kay Hartley. That's Kay Hartley, Hartley at CASAS.org. She did a lot of the field testing for it. And Kay, if you're on the line and you would like to unmute yourself, you would be welcome to do that and tell us a little bit more about that, or any of the other of the program specialists. Or if you were in the part of the field test and you would like to tell about it, feel free to unmute yourself and do that. And Diana says, will we hear from agencies that have been doing it remotely? Share tips with us, please. And I think in the last 2 meetings, and I can resend you the recordings if you didn't get them, people briefly shared about the field testing. Would anybody like to share again for Diana's benefit to hear how the field testing of remote co-op testing went? Or if you're doing remote co-op testing now, we'd love for you to hear. And it says, do we need to fill out another agreement? And yes, you do. I just found that out. So the agreement is for the year. So if you did the remote testing up through June 30th, then you're great. I mean, then you have to fill out a new one. If you filled it out after July 1, then you're fine for the 2021 program year. But yes, you have to fill out one every program year. And go ahead.
This is Barbara.
Yes, Barbara.
If you filled it out in June but put a July 1st, 2020 start date, then you do not have to do a new one. It depends
Thank you.
on what you put as your start date.
Thank you for clarifying that, Barbara. Any more questions about that? And from Alexandra Christie, we have any updates or vague info from CDC about future funding given the extreme difficulty of remote CASAS testing? Could we advocate for Civics funding to be decoupled from, hold on a second, paired CASAS score during this? So it's not CDC, but you're talking about CDE. I see, I'm sorry, that should have been CDE. And the funding is also related to the federal funding. Okay, and so any information, certainly you're able to contact your CDE consultant and suggest whatever you think should be suggested. Let me show you where those documents are just in case you need them. So over here, I think if you can see my CASAS homepage, and it says remote testing up on the top here, and then all the updates on COVID, the pandemic, and all the news, all that information, and the CDE information is all in these links here. So take a look at that. And Oxnard says, they said that they're doing remote testing, but they don't have a mic. So sorry about that. If you want to type anything else, but I hope it's going well, Grace. Oxnard is doing remote testing. She doesn't have a mic. Or if you want to call in on your you can either call in or log in on your phone and then use that mic, that would be great. The remote testing agreement is both for agency and individually. Yes, so let me show you about the remote testing. So we click here on remote testing, and then at the top you see, oh, maybe I'm wrong. I thought maybe it was in the other one. Just a second. Okay, well, let's go back to the co-op page because that I saw it there. There we go. Here we go. So here we go. There's two agreements. One is for your agency, and that's for your, well, let's look at it. It's for your agency to fill out and say what kind of testing they're doing. Let's see if we can get it. I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Barbara? Or someone else? Okay.
So Lori, I'm willing to share our experience.
Okay, hold on. Thank you so much. Can you just hold on one second? Let me just finish this, and I appreciate that. Anyways, for some reason I didn't get there, but the agency remote testing agreement is for your agency to fill out, and then everyone who's actually doing the testing needs to fill out the proctor remote testing agreement, but that agreement just stays at your agency. You just have to have filled it out and signed it. It has to do with security, because that is the big issue for remote testing, that the tests be secure. So that's our main consideration when doing remote testing. Okay, and now who do we have on the line who wants to talk about remote testing?
Sigrid.
Oh, hi, Sigrid. Thank you for, and tell us your agency and tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm from CME Institute in Simi Valley. And we did the healthcare objective as our last objective last school year in May. And we wanted to take it for a test run. We didn't know what to expect, but we thought, we better try it out to see what it's like. So that objective has 2 role plays and a written one. So that's the one where you have to schedule an appointment with a doctor, and task 3 was explaining your symptoms to a doctor. So that was pretty easy to do by Zoom. For my intermediate level class, I just met, I made appointments on Zoom with my students, and one by one we did the role plays. And I actually had the written task was filling in a medical history form. And I tried to create a fillable PDF, but it was just so hard. And then I thought, if I am able to create one, what are the students going to do with it? I'm going to have to explain to them, you have to print it out, or you have, do this or that. So I just ended up going with a Google form. But when I did the role play, one-on-one testing with them, I actually had them fill out the medical history form while I was watching them. So it took forever.
Right.
But I, the students really appreciated meeting one-on-one, and I really feel like they got something out of it. So now we've gone through it one time. The only thing was, it worked fine with intermediate level classes and advanced level, but beginning level students we didn't even try because there's just too much of a learning curve there.
So thank you so much, Sigrid. So
Mhm.
if anybody, I just want to make a couple of comments, and then if anybody has any questions, or if anybody can share about doing remote testing with beginning level students, that would be great to hear. But I just wanted to say that, so any oral test needs to be done 1-to-1, as Sigrid mentioned, but a written test could be done 1-to-5. So you could have 5 students possibly on Zoom, and all the guidelines for that are in the training. And I know they are looking at, increasing those numbers, but that hasn't, as far as I know, isn't available yet. Does anybody have any questions for Sigrid, or would anybody like to talk about beginning level remote assessment?
Can you hear me?
Yes, who is this?
Hi, this is Grace Rice from Oxnard.
Thank you, Grace. Thanks for calling
Finally
in.
got on the phone.
Yes, good job. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to continue with what Sigrid was saying. We developed a fillable form for the medical form, and we are sharing it. We share a link to the form through Google Meet, because we meet through Google Meet, and the students are able to access it and fill it out while we watch it. So yesterday I did a session with 4 students, and I was able to watch them filling out their forms, as well as going into another computer, using another computer, watching them fill out the form. So that was pretty enlightening. The one thing we are learning is it really depends on the device that they have. If they have laptops and desktops, it's going to be no problem. The phones and the tablets are a problem with that.
Mhm.
And I don't know if other people have ideas for phones.
And so I just want to say, we don't have a problem with posting or having on Google Docs something that they can access, because on medical history form, basically they're all the same, and any student could go find one, and and they've practiced with them, so that's okay. If a prompt, however, it should be done in the moment with students, so that they're not having someone prepare them for the information that prompt. But when we're talking about personal information, or they're seeing a scenario and then you filling out a Google form, that works fine. And thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that. Does anybody have any questions for Grace, or any suggestions about what she asked? Thank you so much for sharing, Grace and Sigrid. It really is helpful, as Diana asked, that people share, because it really helps. And we're going to want to be doing more sharing. While I'm thinking of it, the CATESOL conference, virtual CATESOL conference, is coming up in the fall, October 8th through 11th. Friday is the deadline for giving presentations. Although, unfortunately, their platform isn't interactive, it would be great to be able to present on some of these things that you're doing. So if you would like to give a presentation on remote learning or remote testing, I'm sure it would be incredibly welcome. And even if you want to get together, maybe Grace and Sigrid get together and do a presentation together on this to share with people. I think there's like 45-minute slots. It would be so great to be sharing. And it is virtual, so you don't have to worry as a presenter to be going anywhere. Yes.
This is Elaine in Hayward. Could I ask the last speaker about how long did it take per student to do that particular co-op?
It really ranged from half an hour to, I had someone finish it in 20 minutes. And then others went up to 45 minutes. It really depended on their tech skills.
Thank you.
So one thing you could do, again, Barbara, I haven't had as much experience as others with this, but you could bring on 5 people, explain how it's going to be, and then break out with another tester or more than one tester to go into breakout rooms and have them be watching the test at that time. So if there's any part of it that can be done in a group, think about that to lessen the time in terms of explaining how the test is going to be done, et cetera. That those issues, that may help you lessen the time, but we do know that it is time intensive. And Elaine,
Lori,
go ahead.
sorry.
I
This is Carla. I just wanted to before we get off of that subject, I just wanted to mention something I think that's really important to keep in mind. And I have to apologize for my Simpsons living room background. I forgot to take it off.
We like it. It's good.
But okay, I appreciate what you're saying about, we could have 5 people log in and go into breakout rooms and then have test proctors going into the rooms with them. This is a huge staffing issue to do it that way, and with the amount of time that it's taking to do these tests, I just hope that from the state level, that's something that you guys are keeping in mind for us. We've just made tremendous budget cuts, many of the agencies, so I think that's why a lot of us, if you go back through the chat, are asking questions about what is actually required for fall while we're still in an emergency situation, so that we can make decisions and have staff working appropriately on what is actually required versus what is something that's recommended or we can try out. I don't know if that makes sense, if I'm articulating that very well, but
So Carla, those are all incredible concerns. So what is required if you're doing remote testing are what is talked about in the guidelines. What the state is requiring to do, in other words, whether or not you need to do the testing, is a question for your CDE consultant. But if you're doing it, all the information you need to do it is here on this page that I'm sharing hopefully with you. So
okay.
We haven't received any further guidance about payment points and all of those things. So those are questions for your CDE consultant.
Okay, so Lori, then are you suggesting then that we each contact the CDE directly, or is there any plan to have a CDE rep or a group of CDE reps come to one of these meetings and kind of support us all? I just, again, we are all so overworked, overwhelmed. There's a lot on our plates, and I think as much as possible that could be streamlined to get that information to us would be so helpful. And I don't know if other people, I'm seeing some, people in the chat agreeing too, but
right. Carla, I agree with you, but we did just get some information about the administrator training that's going to be coming up at the end of September. And I think that CDE is still trying to resolve a lot of these issues through with the federal government as well. So I think that the existing direction that we have is what CASAS and CDE have been able to work out, and hopefully there will be some changes. But like you and I have talked about, a lot of times we're going to be getting started and then we're going to be told, oh yeah, and you also have this option. So I think we're just going to kind of have to prepare and do the best that we can. But I have a question for Sigrid and Grace. Were you saying that the student completed like a Google form while you were online watching? They typed on their computer in the Google form? I'm sorry to be so.
No, I would have the same question. Yeah, I was kind of worried that students would start sharing this among each other. So when we scheduled the one-on-one appointment, I would send them, I would share that Google form with them and only that one student. And once I saw that they had completed it, I removed them. I didn't allow them to have access to it anymore. So what I didn't like about the Google form is it doesn't look authentic. As far as, there wasn't a lot of way that I could make it look real, but that's what I had to deal with. And
that's the least of our worries at this point, but I appreciate your concern with it. Of course, we would, want to have it look as real as possible, but I think the fact that you're doing it is great. And
Grace, what about you?
Well, with Google Forms, there's a way to make a copy for each student. So this is time consuming, but since we had a smaller summer school this time, we had 4 classes. I took the time to to create different documents for each student. And so when you assign the document to the student, they are getting their own copy and they can't share with each other. And
Great.
there is no talking during the session. So,
Okay.
So that's the most crucial concern we have is security in remote testing. So we so appreciate you taking those things into consideration. And all of that is talked about in the guidelines. And just to answer some of the questions that are coming up, each person giving a test needs to fill out the proctor remote testing agreement. And I think there's a place to check on there which tests you're giving. If not, then it'll go for everyone. But I think there, at least on the agency agreement, it asks the agency which tests are being given. So it doesn't look like I'm able to pull this up for you, but oh well. But
One more question. Did you both assess classes that you taught, so you were familiar with the students, or the students were familiar with you, I should say?
Yeah.
no.
Okay, so maybe that doesn't matter. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I just have so many questions.
that's great. And maybe you want to contact people separately, but this funding question that Carla brought up, and I see it on the chat. Again, we haven't received any information. I know that Carolyn Zachary is going to be doing a welcome webinar or a video at the, which will come out in September. And then Diana just mentioned other things that are coming out for administrators. Again, CDE is still working on those things, I guess. And Tishelle, you have a question? Go ahead.
Hi, sorry. I guess I'm following up with Carla's question as well too. I'm sorry if you can't hear me. In this day and age where like our entire campus is shut down, we can get access a week or two in advance by putting in a request and getting it approved by VPs and that are to even get onto campus. So basically, we don't have access to anything other than what we have that we brought home with us back in March. My concern is that I'm still trying to come up with some kind of a plan for remote testing as far as for pre and post testing, whereas I am able to implement EL Civics fairly quickly and easily. But my concern is if we're putting in the time and effort to do EL Civics assessments, EL Civics planning in our classes and instruction in our classes, of course, is always still going to be important. But the assessment piece, I just wonder, will it even count if I end up not being able to get pre and post testing underway?
Yes, and I see that Leaf is bringing up that issue too, that at least in our past setup, the co-op payment point would not count unless there was a pre and post test. Margaret suggests that people attend their regional network meetings where CD consultants are there to hear your concerns, she says. I know that may be true in some meetings. I don't know about all of them. And I can certainly request that a CD consultant come to our meeting in August, which is going to be August 26th. And I will certainly let them know of your concerns. I'll share this chat with them as well. I hope I'm not missing any of your comments. I think some of the questions were answered by other participants, which is really terrific. I know, Elaine, you had asked Barbara to repeat what she said, which is, if I'll repeat it for her, that if you signed a agency or proctor remote testing agreement in June, but you dated it for July, then it's fine for July 1 through June 30th. If you did it for up to June 30th, then you have to do a new one. Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I understood.
No, and I responded privately.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The other thing is there was a letter that came out from CDE yesterday that has the deliverables on it, the deliverable due dates, and reminding people if there's any changes to correct those on the OTAN CDE website, and that they're still looking at payment points, and we'll let them know in the future, but she didn't have a date for that. And she also said that there would be a video out, but she didn't have a date for that either.
So Barb, if people didn't get that, can you send that to me? Because I don't think I got it either. If you send it to me, I'll send that letter out to everyone.
Yeah, I will.
I didn't see it. Sorry about that, but that's good to know. And since we have program specialists here, can you tell us which of you will have CD consultants at your next meeting in August? So that people, and remember, you don't have to attend a meeting for your area. So you're welcome to go to any meeting. It's all basically the same in terms of the slides, et cetera. It just would be local concerns that might be different, but usually they're the same. Margaret, do you have a CD consultant scheduled for your next meeting? And when is that?
Yeah, my next meeting with the Orange County people is August 7th. And Carmen Martinez Calderon will be there. And August 13th for Area 11, which is East LA County. And now a little bit of Inland County. So that's August 13th.
So I'm going to go to those meetings and show you how you can find them and sign up here. And so maybe, and Barb, or if any other program specialist is here, do you have anyone scheduled for your meetings?
Cliff and David are my CDE, and they're invited every time, but they don't show up every time.
So if you want to talk to a CD consultant, it sounds like attending Margaret's meeting. So is this it right here? I see 7490 Margaret, Orange County.
Yes. Yeah,
is everybody seeing my screen? Okay, that's the first one on 8/7, and the next one is
August 13th.
Right there, August 13th. So
and they do take the information back to Carolyn, CDE director, so adult ed director. So, you know, they are considering all this. I think they're waiting to see what the data shows before they make any major decisions about funding.
So again, if you have concerns, I suggest, Margaret, if you don't mind, that people attend your meeting. You know, the meetings are open to everyone. So sign up for these meetings.
Email your CDE consultant. That's a really good idea.
And I did suggest that, but yes. Okay, great. Thanks so much. So that's the way you can get involved.
Lori, this is Elaine again. I did send an email to RCD consultant. I mentioned it in the chat, but I also forwarded her some documentation, you know, like how many things we weren't able to do this year, the kinds of numbers that we normally have in the fall that we will not have this year. I think having some actual tangible data on an individual basis, if we all sort of send that kind of stuff, it will help. They all know our concerns, but I think the severity of what may be forthcoming will have more impact if they hear from multiple voices. If we, you know,
I agree, and I think an email is really helpful. They can take that into a meeting and they can forward it to others. So rather than a call, you know, writing something to your CD consultant is really helpful, and hearing from multiple people so that they understand, you know, what actually is involved for you is really crucial. You know, other people in your agency need to know it too, right? So you might write something to your superintendent or to, you know, whoever else, you know, your community in some way. So you might be able to use whatever you write up in more than one place, because it's really important for people to know what's actually happening on the ground. And I know that CDE would like to know that. So I think if you can, you know, that following that suggestion of contacting your CDE consultant is really helpful. So I think we've gotten through the questions and the answers mostly. Is there any question that has not yet been addressed that I perhaps missed as I was scrolling through? Daniela says, did 43.4 environmental problems and solutions get eliminated? Oh, it could. Let me see. Let's go back there and look. Let's see where it is here. Sorry, I'm just trying to see. There we go. I'm sorry, co-op revision list. Let's look there. 43.4. And it may just not be, I may have failed to make it live accidentally. But if it's on the revision list, sometimes things do get eliminated. So please, if you see something that should be there that's not, please write me, because, you know, I'm only human going through these things. Sometimes I make a mistake. So, 43.4. Well, thank you for letting me know. I will, if it was there, perhaps it just didn't get rolled over. So we do have an electronic system. So thank you for mentioning it, and I will look. It should, there was no reason that it would have gotten eliminated. It could have been an error. Daniela, did you use it last in 1920, in 2019-20?
I think we did. I'd
Okay.
have to go back and check, but it is on my list from last fall. No, sorry, last spring. I'm not sure how many teachers used it, but I was
Okay.
looking forward to spring of 21.
Yeah, there's no reason it shouldn't be there. So go ahead and use it. I'll redo this list and get it up there and find out what happened to it. Again,
Perfect.
just probably my error here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me know. And please, if you see an error, if you find out there's only one task for a level, like we found out for that 8.6, you know, let me know. We do make mistakes. So please tell us what the mistakes are so we can fix it for everyone. Okay, and again, my email address, lbhoward@casas.org. And Theodora asked again, if we need to reduce the number of co-ops we do in 2021 compared to last year, would that have any impact on our funding? All funding questions are CDE related. CASAS only takes care of data and instructional things. So again, that's a question, Theodora, for your CDE consultant. I'm sorry that I don't have access to that information. So, and thank you for telling me about 43.4, and we'll take care of that. Any other question? Okay, and let me just go back to my slides. I just had one more thing I think on there I wanted to show you. Hopefully you're seeing my screen. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. In this format, just so I don't have to keep going back. Well, I think we've pretty much, I was going to ask you one success and one challenge you've experienced with remote learning and testing. I think we've covered that. I was going to have you put it in the chat, but it sounds like we've talked a lot about that. So unless anybody has something else to say, I will leave that. The last thing that I wanted to say was just that our next meeting is August 26th. I will invite CDE to join. Whether they will, I do not know, but I will try to get someone to join at that meeting. And again, if you want to talk to a CDE consultant before then, I would definitely either call directly, or attend one of the two meetings Margaret mentioned. Let me, and if you have any agenda items, please, let me know what you'd like to talk about for next meeting. And I just want to show you how you can find your CDE consultant. So if you, on the EL Civics page, the last item, well, this is a little wonky right now because all of there have been changes in the who's who. So it's especially for us, your program specialist, we used to do it by county. And so you could tell who your program specialist was. That's your CASAS related person by county. That's going to change, and I don't know how, but we will be updating this. But for right now, I would go ahead, you just assume whoever you had last year will be, is your person, or someone you could contact now, and they'll tell you if they're not your person. And if you just click there, you get the list of all the CDE consultants and their contact information. So feel free to make that contact. And I do have a question. And Diana, you said info is listed here, but I'm not sure which info you're talking about. But if you go to that link, and you'll find out what Diana is trying to tell us. Theodora asks, how are the 30 hours of instruction calculated in online instruction? So, you should look to the distance learning guidelines. I thought I sent those to you. But I will send them again. I know I asked Jay for that information and I think I sent it out, but I will send it again. But however distance learning or blended learning is calculated in those guidelines is how you would do it for a co-op. So you need 30 hours of instruction, but if you're assigning homework or things that need to be done in order to do the work past the assessment, that can all count. Depending on distance learning guidelines. So I will look for those guidelines and I will send it to you again. And if it's not already posted somewhere on the CASAS website, I will post something for you. Thank you for mentioning that. And someone says, our agency was unable to administer the student needs survey. So yes, so I haven't talked with CDE about this, but they've usually been very open about, everybody's trying to do the best they can. So I would say to you, if you were unable to administer your needs assessment for co-op selection, I would make educated guesses using the information you had last year. Go ahead and fill out your summary form and just say your difficulty in doing it. Again, we all know there's differences this year. So just do your best, but fill out your summary form so you have it on record what you did in terms of your needs assessment, and that you're using it from last year or you're changing it because your teachers or administrators know your students' needs, and just do your best. But I will also try to have an official ruling on that, but we've always been more lenient in these kinds of times. So the summary form to shell is on the CASAS website. It's just one of the requirements. If you ever did the training for EL Civics Basics, there's certain requirements for EL Civics, and one of the requirements is a summary form of needs assessment, because one of the pillars of EL Civics is needs assessment. So it should be listed here for you, I hope. I'm going to find it. Here we go. Needs assessment summary form right here. So this is supposed to be kept on file at your agency, and it just asks for you to describe what kind of assessment you did, how many students you assessed. It asks you to, describe the test or attach the assessment, the needs assessment there, and tell your results. 300 people out of 500 took the needs assessment. The results were XYZ. Those results caused us to choose co-op 30.7, 33.2, whatever it is. And this is just a summary. It says in 1 or 2 paragraphs, describe your needs assessment.
Oh,
it's not new. It's been there since the very, 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 very beginning, but it may have gotten lost in all the other things. And maybe that means I should, don't worry about it if you haven't done it, but you'll do it this year. And that causes me to perhaps do a little box that says requirements of the program, so that we can list them off 1, 2, 3. Again, it's in the training, but it would be good to have it in writing. So thank you. Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, I completely, I remember that form from like 3 years ago, and I honestly, we do a summary of our results every year anyways, but I forgot about this form entirely.
So in every whenever I was do slides at the beginning of the year or talk about the needs assessment, I always talk about it. But again, easy to have missed. No worries. Just do it now and put it on file.
Is there a fillable form version of it?
No, it's not even, this is it. There's not a fillable form. Do you need a fillable form? I'll look into that.
Okay.
Okay, good. But as for now, again, it's just something that you could even handwrite and put in a file, or scan and put it on your files in case the CDE consultant asks for it. Okay, so fillable, good. Okay, good. So we usually go till 2:30, but if there's not any other questions, we can end. Does anybody have any last questions or content they want for the next meeting? Okay, well, thank you so much for attending again. Please put your name in the chat if you haven't already, name an agency so I know you were here. And also register if you haven't yet registered. That helps me a lot if you register so that I don't have to register you for the meeting. Really appreciate you attending. I will talk to you on August 26th. And be safe, take care, and good luck with your remote learning and teaching and testing. Take care.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Good meeting. Thank you.